Hey YouTube, what's up? It's me, still doing the vlogging thing, still doing the good old social distancing. Here it is, April 14th, 2020. It's snowing outside for some reason. I'm in one of my usual spots you'll find me. I figure this is probably a really good place to distance oneself, but being that it is April 14th, 2020, it's officially been 10 years since we lost Peter Steele of Type O Negative. Anybody who knows me knows how much I love that band, and still do, obviously. They live on still and all that good stuff, but I guess I wanted to kind of give a video or an explanation, or basically just talk about their influence is on my life, whether it's him or the band or whatever. I still try to follow Kenny and Johnny on social media and whatnot. I know Josh is doing his paramedic thing in Brooklyn, so hats off to him, by the way, especially now. I don't know what I want to say. Back in the early 90s, probably 92, 93, I was still in high school, sophomore, junior year, something like that. And my brother Andy and I were watching Headbangers Ball on MTV on a Saturday night, because that's just what we did back then. And I don't know if we were sitting downstairs or if we were in his room or whatever, but Type O Negative comes on a video. For those who don't know what Headbangers Ball was, it's basically it was on MTV, and it was a show that they did on Saturday nights, basically showcasing heavy metal and rock music, and it would basically just be the band's videos, So I think it ran for 2 or 3 hours a night, like I said, every Saturday, and that's pretty much what we did. We weren't Saturday Night Live people; we were more like Headbangers Ball people. But their video for Black Number One came on, and my brother called. I don't know where I was, but he calls me over and he says, "Dude, you gotta check these dudes out." And we're sitting there, we're just like taking it in, I was like, what, like, who are these guys? My initial reaction was like, wow, this is really good. This is really cool. More importantly, this is different, Let's face it, 92, 93 was, well, even 1990. I remember when I started high school, grunge music was the thing. As far as like the rock music goes, everybody was into grunge and alternative, and Nirvana came out with their album. I don't remember what it's even called. Smells Like Teen Spirit or whatever. And then Pearl Jam came out, and Stone Temple Pilots came out, and Alice in Chains came out, and I think it was that weird musical transition where the 80s glam music kind of, I don't want to say died out, but it kind of just fizzled. And then we were in that weird transition to what became, like I said, alternative and grunge, or whatever you want to call it. And I'm sure there's a lot more bands that came out in that time that I can even think of right now. Screaming Trees, I think it came to mind for some reason. And I think even in 92 was when Metallica's Black Album came out. So there was definitely some of the heavier metal that was still being released, like Sepultura was doing their thing, and I believe Pantera was really big back then. Megadeth came out with a Countdown to Extinction album, I think, is when that came out. I want to say Testament came out with The Ritual or some album. I mean, there was still a good mix of different types of rock music coming out at that time. And I think even Def Leppard had I don't want to say like a reunion album, but they had like an album that came out years after like their previous, almost like a resurgence. But anyway, so we're watching this video, and I'm just like, wow, I need to find out more about these guys' music. I need to find out like what their album base is, and of course this is back then when we didn't have social media. We didn't really have the internet. Let's face it. At least not in my house. I'm not even sure when the internet was, out there for most. But yeah, and I remember just, well, I guess we're going to have to just go look for it, because that's what we did back then. Andy and I would go CD shopping or music shopping or whatever the case. So that's what we did. Then I remember I picked up their Bloody Kisses re-release, which at the time I didn't realize was a re-release, but that's what I picked up because I saw the Black #1 song was on there. And, yeah, I picked that up. I want to say I bought a t-shirt too, but I don't know if that was actually the same day. And I was kind of scrolling through and I found out that they had more than that album, but I think I just bought Bloody Kisses at the time. And, again, like I said, later on, I realized that was a re-release due to they basically cut a lot of the songs off that didn't fit the quote-unquote image I think they were trying to portray. And I don't think it was Typo Negative's decision. I think it was more of Roadrunner's decision, with the record label they were on at the time. Basically cut out some of the songs that they didn't feel like really fit in. So when they initially released Bloody Kisses, it had like, I don't know, 14, 15 tracks on it. Kill All the White People was one of the tracks. I think was cut. There was a couple others. And basically they wanted to keep it like a separate image. So they re-released like a Digipack album with a bonus. I don't know if it's a bonus track or not, but Suspended and Dusk was the song on there. And man, I remember when I brought that CD home. That's pretty much all I listened to, like, constantly. I had a Harman Kardon home stereo receiver with a Onkyo, I believe. I could be wrong on that. CD player, back of these old home stereo. Then I had these two home, big old huge speakers in the corners of my basement or the bedroom, whatever you want to call it. And I remember popping that CD in, and that's pretty much all I listened to forever. I just felt connected. Like this is different. Like this is like nothing you will hear on the radio. This is nothing that I mean, who do you compare that sound to? So yeah, that came out. And I ended up getting that, and I ended up getting Slow, Deep, and Hard and Origin of the Feces at some other point. And I realized that I kind of went backwards, like this music's way different than what even Bloody Kisses was. And of course, the only research you could do again at this time was go to your local newsstand, Ralph's newsstand downtown, which was a kind of a popular place to go and get magazines and other paraphernalia. And then, or you would hit like a Hallmark store or like a Barnes & Noble when they came out here in this area, and that's what you would do. You would just go and basically flip through magazines for hours on end trying to figure out as much information and whatever you can find on particular bands at that time. As far as word of mouth also, but Typo Negative was kind of like a band that wasn't popular, especially at the time. At least in my circle, I pretty much I don't want to sound like I'm giving myself a lot of credit or anything, but I think I introduced them to a lot of people back then. Even when I graduated high school and after, even when as I graduated in '94, and of course when you graduate high school back then, I keep saying back then, wow. But even back then, you kind of, the only way to keep contact with people is just via your home phone. It was really all you had. So whoever's number you had, and whoever's you didn't. But I remember finding out that their October Rust album was going to drop in '96. And after I graduated high school, I ended up getting a full-time job at Target retail stores as a level 2 toys sporting goods associate. And that was basically my job after I graduated. And then sadly in 1995, that's the year my father passed away. And on December 10th, it was the day. And any kind of thoughts I had about furthering my education or anything was basically put on hold because I didn't. My mom needed me. Let's face it. She needed me financially and for other reasons. So I did the best I could for working, full time. And I remember, like I said, I think it was '96 that October Rust came out. Probably in the fall, I'm sure. And I remember my buddies basically came to Target after we closed down and picked me up, and like, you know, we'll just come back and get your car later or whatever, and picked me up, and we drove to Orbit Music, which is a local music store that's still open today. Of course, it's not as big as it was back then, but obviously they're still doing all right. And we went to Orbit Music on the release. It was a Monday night. They always released all their new CDs and music Monday nights at midnight. Because still to this day, at least I think still to this day, most new media, whether it be movies or TV or even video games, are released on Tuesdays. So they would have like Monday night release parties, and what I guess were parties depending on the size of the artist. And I mean, there was a line for them, but I mean, it wasn't. It was basically just me and a few other little creepy kids, you know, waiting for this release. And so I buy my CD, and we go back into Jordan's car, and he pops it into his CD player or whatever, and we're kind of just listening to it for a while, sitting in the parking lot, just bullshitting, you know. And we end up going to Denny's or somewhere. I think we may have picked somebody else up. I don't know, but that's just what we did back then. We just go out and basically just go out and sit around a restaurant and drink coffee and whatever, and just talk about stuff. So that's what we did. And I remember I went home and I started just listening to that CD, you know, that album over and over. And a lot of good material on that album. I don't really have a favorite Type O Negative album, because they're all up on my list for various reasons. To single one out, I think would just be an insult to them, so I don't do that. But October Rust is definitely up there. Even to this day, it's probably my favorite album of all time. Like, across many bands, across the board, you know. Definitely top five. Definitely top five. They hit it on that album. They released 78 minutes of music, or whatever the CD could hold back then. They basically filled that CD to its capacity, you know. And the little background joke was kind of cute, for those who don't know, or for those who do know, I should say. That was actually pretty cute. So, and I guess going from there, you know, when you're graduating high school and you're free, so to speak, and I'm working my full-time gig, and I got a chance to go to a couple concerts, Type O Negative concerts. Andy and I went to one in Fort Wayne. I don't know what the year. I think it was before October Rust came out. I want to say it was 95. I'm only going to say that because it was part of their Bloody Kisses tour, and they were touring with Queensryche at the time, and that's who we saw. But I think before that, I saw them with a couple other friends of mine, and we went again to Fort Wayne Coliseum, and we saw Pantera and Type O Negative, which was awesome as well. I want to say, oh, sorry, I'm rolling my sleeves up. I want to say I've seen them about 6 times. I don't really exactly remember the years or whatever, but I remember I saw them in Indianapolis. I think it was for their, I want to say it was for the Life is Killing Me tour, early 2000s. I know I saw them again in Detroit at Harpo's. I remember we spent the night in Detroit because we saw Mortician on a Friday night, and then Saturday night was Type O Negative with whoever. And so we ended up staying over in Detroit, but I don't remember what year or when exactly that was. But I remember we took Corey's fucking Dodge Shadow all the way up there. Excuse me. And made it back, you know, in one piece. And because I remember when we came out of the venue, the car next to Corey's was actually broken into and all the shit was stolen. So that must have been I don't know what night that was, honestly, but I did see him in Indianapolis, like I said, at the Marat Egyptian Room. I think that was the show that I was fortunate enough to, as we were pulling into the parking lot and we were driving around looking for a spot, and I saw Peter walking out of the building towards the bus. and I yelled out something to him. I don't remember what the hell I yelled, and he was like, "Oi!" In a kind of a response. He almost gave me that punk rock "Oi" response, which I thought was weird, but I remember I was like, "Dude, you gotta park. I gotta see this guy. I gotta talk to this guy." And he had, by the time we parked and got out and walked towards the bus, he had like a group of people around him asking him to sign this and sign that, and I remember I don't, man, I really wish I remember what bands they were with, but I remember I went up there, I told him, I said, "Look, I don't have anything for you to sign, you know, because that's not why I'm here. I'm not here for you to sign something, you know." So I remember I put my arm around him, and he took to it well, you know. It was one of those strange occasions where I think probably, probably for both him and me that we can both, you know, see eye to eye, you know, because he was 6'7" or whatever, like I am, 6'8", whatever the case may be. So I thought it was cool that I can finally, you know, as we're basically just looking at each other, talking a little bit, and everybody else is just beneath us, and not, you know, I mean physically, of course. Almost like the whole world just, you know, whatever is going on below us, who cares, really? We're just gonna, you know, shake hands and enjoy each other's little conversation we had, which I really don't remember what, but, oh man, it was nice, you know. I told him, I was like, "Look, dude, I don't have anything for you to sign. That's not why I come to these things, you know." And I think I actually made him smile with that, but which was a rare occasion for him. And I told him, I was like, "Well, I don't know." I said, "I guess we're gonna head in." I told him, "I'm just here to see you guys. I'm gonna sleep through the rest, you know." And he kind of gave me a smirk on that too, you know, because I think they were headlining. I don't remember who they were with again. Might have been a couple up and coming Roadrunner bands, is probably my thought or my guess, but. So that was the event that I actually met him at, which was awesome. Um, I think actually at the time I was also trying to, I remember starting a new job in early '97, and I bought myself a car with Andy's help, of course, like as always, and then what was it, the year 2000, I moved out on my own, and a few years later, there was like this big gap between October Rust and World Coming Down. Well, I wasn't considering it was a big gap. It was like a 2-year gap. Because I remember when I moved in 2000, I covered one of my apartment walls with nothing but like typo negative posters that I was stealing out of. I wasn't stealing. I was, you know, getting out of magazines, because that's just what magazines did back then. Or I would basically just hang up like extra, like inserts that you would get from CDs, because I would always go to Orbit, or always go to these like other CD shops and say, "Hey, you have any like typo negative posters that you may have hung up that you were using for advertising or whatever?" And they'd be like, "Sure, man, here you go, just take it." You know, they didn't care back then. They probably wouldn't care now, but yeah, I remember I just decorated my entire wall with typo negative stuff, and maybe like a Grim Reaper poster here and there, because that's just the kind of creepy little kid I was. But yeah, I remember when The World Coming Down came out, and I didn't really. I was like, "Yeah, it's a little different." You know, I can definitely see that they're changing. And musically, for me, I guess I should go backwards a little bit. We used to do these open mic nights, me and this little band we had, and I remember we did some typo negative covers, at least one or two, which was cool, because, you know, we're basically playing music that many people probably just thought was our own. You know, they're just, like I said, they were just like a popularity thing there, but it was cool that we were able to do that, because I know there's a lot of bands out there that cover them now and tribute to them, to, you know, tribute the band now, and basically make, for what they can, make a living out of, you know, become like a tribute band or whatever the case may be. But, you know, I was doing that shit way back when, you know. So I think that's kind of cool that we were able to do that, you know, and even had the cafe that we played at play some type of negative over the speakers, you know, because we always had like music playing all the time, it seemed like. So it was kind of cool that a place like that we can go when we were younger. Like I said, this is just out of high school, probably mid '90s, where you can go and basically share your music tastes, or your whatever you were into, your art, whatever. It was kind of a place just to go and hang out and, you know, drink coffee or skeletines, those little soft drink bottles. They weren't little; they were regular size, I guess. But anyway, I'm going way off the subject, and I'm sorry. And of course, like I said, musically, covering their band or covering their music on stage, it was really hard for me as a guitar player and sort of bass player, I guess, to replicate their sound. Not really voice-wise. I think I did a pretty good job singing it, but it was more like, how do they get that deep sound? And for years, I always thought it was just the equipment they used. I'm like, well, I'm just going to go out and try to get like just the raunchiest distortion effects I can get. And I went out. This must have been around the same time, mid '90s or whatever. And I went out to Roxy Music in LaPorte, and I got this effects processor that was basically. I mean, it had a lot of settings and it had a lot of stuff it can do, but it had a lot of echo and a lot of reverb and a lot of. It was basically like a reverb processor, which I thought would amplify the low distorted noise that I was looking to get, which I ended up getting from a DOD pedal or a DOD pedal, whatever you want to fucking call it. And I think it was called death metal pedal or something like that. And of course I had to get a noise gate because these things are ridiculous. So I got a noise gate pedal, and one of these days maybe I'll go over my guitar equipment in a video or something. But trying to replicate their noise which is what I thought was even fucking impossible, because I was just basically doing everything in a standard E tuning. I didn't know. And so let's fast forward again. I don't know, I'm all over the place, to me moving out with Corey, who I mentioned earlier, in this apartment. And it was probably early 2000s. And I'm playing, and I'm in my bedroom just playing, and I'm playing Type O Negative shit, and he comes out, he goes, man, you really got that sound. And I was like, dude, I'm trying to do it, but it still doesn't seem like it's, it still doesn't seem like it's that baritone noise, like, I don't want to call it noise, but that baritone sound. And he's like, dude, it sounds good to me, but you're the player, you're the player, but you're the artist in a way. I was like, dude, I know, it's just there's something about it I'm missing, And as the time progressed, I think there was a lot of information, other ways to achieve information, like when we finally got internet and whatnot. Even though it was dial up, it was still something, and like we were just basically like, all right, I'm gonna find out some kind of information on what the hell's going on and why their sound is so much different than what I'm doing. I can't just keep buying and throwing more equipment at this thing, because that's obviously not the case. And I think it was that weird musical transition where alternative and grunge kind of turned into something else. And I remember like Limp Bizkit and Korn being a couple popular bands. Whatever that era was, I don't know. I didn't really listen to their stuff, and it seemed like everybody was drop D tuning. I'm like, what the? I'm like, okay, drop D tuning. I know what that is. I'm familiar with it anyway. I've never done it. I'm like, well, maybe that's what it is. Maybe they're using drop D. I didn't think they were. No, they're not. Type O Negative did not use drop D. I'm like, what is it then? What are they? Maybe what are they doing? Come to find out. And again, this is just gullible me. I mean, yeah, this is kind of like when you think you know a lot about guitars and basses and how sound. Well, you don't, because I didn't realize that there was even a drop B option. I'm like, okay, so they basically perform and they record all their stuff in a drop B tuning. So I've got this Fender Stratocaster made in China, I think. And I'm like, well, I'm gonna see if I could figure out. I mean, I'm tone deaf as it is, but I'm gonna see if my tuner that's on my processor, which has a tuner on it, could tune this thing down to drop B. And for the life of me, it could not. It wasn't the tuner's fault. It wasn't the processor's fault. I would tune the keys down so low that the strings would lose its sound. It would lose enough tension to even come. They basically just went, and there was just nothing I could do. It was almost like you're loosening or lowering them down to the point where there's just no tone at all. I'm like, well, what the frig, So I must have dived into it a little farther or something, and come to find out, the guitar I had just wasn't made or wasn't capable of being tuned that low and playable. I'm like, what? I didn't know that was a thing either. Anyway, we're going to fast forward again, and I ended up having to just recently bought a guitar maybe a couple of years ago that can handle it. So, and have I done anything with it yet? No. I mean, I'm still trying to figure out this whole drop B thing. I don't know why it's so confusing or whatever, but I think a lot of my life kind of got in the way too, you know. I kind of got into other things, and I don't really play as much as I used to, which is unfortunate, but it's hard to kind of find the time, even though we're on a thing like we are now. I don't know, one of these days I keep saying I'm going to pick the thing back up, but I guess we'll see. Hopefully. Because I do kind of miss it, so yeah, if we were fast forward, I remember, Life is Killing Me came out, and that album I used to listen to all the time on my Xbox, in my living room, in my apartment, while I was playing Grand Theft Auto 3, or Grand Theft Auto Vice City, or both, whatever. Because I remember the Xbox had that feature where you could basically put music on its hard drive. And then Rockstar came out with that feature where for Xbox, if you hopped into a car, you could change the music you want to listen to. But one of the options for the Xbox people were your own, like, mixtape, let's say. But what that mixtape was the music that was on the hard drive. So I remember just driving around listening to fucking World Coming, or not World Coming Down, but Life is Killing Me all the time. That's kind of how I got listening to that album at all. And that album, I gotta tell you, that album I think has got a lot of hidden, I don't want to say hidden, but it's got a lot of really good songs on there that are underrated. I know everybody talks about Anesthesia as being probably one of their greatest songs ever written, and yeah, I can definitely agree with that. Who hasn't used that song in some form or another? But I definitely think like Todd Ship Gods and A Dish Best Served Coldly, and of course Life is Killing Me. I mean, there's just so much good material on there. If You Don't Kill Me, I Have to Kill You. Just there's a lot of really good songs on that CD. I'd really put that up there as not only a way that you can like listen to that CD if you went from CD to CD or album to album, and I mean, like, you could just, that's when you could really tell they were progressing, and they were not, I don't want to say maturing, but in a way they kind of were. At least I thought so. Like, their sound was getting better. Their background vocals I thought were more clear. I thought Kenny was doing a fantastic job on riffs, and just, I'm like, just this, oh, I don't know, man. It's hard to replicate, even to this day, you know. I know there are bands out there, but I remember even trying to find bands that were, like, similar to them. I'm like, you know, and I kind of find, like, even if the band's been out longer than Type O Negative, it was Type O Negative that introduced me to these other bands, you know. Like My Dying Bride, and Anathema, and Moonspell, and Paradise Lost, and, which is basically I don't want to say a clone to Type O Negative, but they're definitely kind of like continuing where Type O Negative left off in a way. And it's admirable. I think it's admirable anyway, but yeah. And I don't know. What can I say? It's I feel like that's like the one band I grew up with, you know. Because everybody has one. Let's face it, you know. Everybody has like a favorite, or if there's a discussion going on about music, like, hey, have you heard the latest this? Or hey, everybody, while they're thinking of the answer, always goes back to the band they can relate to, you know. And in my case, that's Type O Negative, you know. Like, hey, did you hear about this new band called, you know, so and so? I'm like, my first thought is, well, how do they compare to Type O Negative? Because if they don't sound like something I'm into, then I don't really care, you know. I'm just gonna go back to listening to Type O Negative. Fuck you, fuck your shit. But I don't know. I don't mean to sound all negative, but I was actually listening to. I'm so unorganized. I was actually listening to Life is Killing Me on my way here. I was like, well, if I'm gonna talk about him, I might as well give him a little listen. He had Nettie, song about his mother. Anesthesia, Drunk in Paris. Yeah, The Dream is Dead, that was a good one too. It's a Valentine's Day song. A dish best served coldly, yeah. How could she? Yeah. Yeah, so the fact that he's got songs about his mother and father on the same album is actually pretty cool. the guy was really down to earth, as far as I'm concerned, you know. Seems like he wrote and performed and talked about or sang about or, you know, real life stuff, you know. Helped me through a lot of times, that's for sure. You know, lots of women, lots of heartbreak, lots of sadness and gloom. But here I am, survived it all. I guess I got them to thank. Always will, too. That's the amazing thing about music, it never really dies, you know. So they can sing about everything dying, but nope. Not true. I don't think so. I think music's the only thing that doesn't. I'm actually watching the clouds roll by, because it's been off and on snowing, and it's just kind of weird. And I want to go to the store and get some stuff to grill. I want to grill out. It's my day off. Might as well. It may be 36 degrees, but that doesn't stop me, you know. Ain't gonna stop this guy. So, anyway, this is supposed to be my short little typo negative story, how they affected my life, and for the best of I can remember, how I was introduced to them, and all that good stuff, and just too bad, man. 10 years already. I remember finding out while I was at work, of all places. I remember doing well, I don't want to say I remember contacting somebody that I lost contact with now, but I remember she sent me a message, and I basically sent her one back. I was like, I'm like, I'm at work, I really don't know what's going on. She goes, well, you know, I guess it happened this morning, and yada yada, and the band confirmed it. I'm like, oh, fuck me, you know, and I don't know. I want to do something big for them. I still want to go see his tree, and I want to go see Peter's tree, or his whatever, you know. I did have contact with one of his sisters there for a while on Google Plus, but since they've taken that down, I don't know how to really contact any of his family anymore. But we used to talk every once in a while. I mean, every once in a while, maybe once or twice a year, but I don't know. Thanks for everything, I guess. Remember, stay negative. I always do. See y'all later.